Hey, hi everybody, and welcome. I'm going to share my screen real quick and we'll get started. Ooh, that's not what I wanted to share. Here we go. There we go. All right, well, welcome everyone. I'm just going to move that over a little bit. Can everyone see that? Great. Well, welcome to the first ever monthly masterclass that I'm putting on. It is January 2025. And my name is Alyssa Mortel, and I am the best-selling author of the international bestseller, Invisible Warriors. And I just want to welcome everyone here. This month, we are going to start our start our year by talking about the power of language when it comes to our health and well-being in today's world. Um, Before I introduce our two incredible guests that I am so blessed to have here today, I wanted to start our talk today about the groundbreaking work of Dr. Masaru's Emoto's incredible experiments that he did with water in the 1990s. Now, what he did is that he exposed water samples um, to different stimuli, and he started with words, things like love, gratitude, I hate you, you disgust me. Then he went a little further. Now, as you can see in these two images, just by those words, they changed these water crystals. He froze them instantly. Not only did the crystal structures change, but the colors changed as well. Um, he changed the stimuli that he used, not only to with music, but prayers and thinking. The one that I really thought was really incredible was this before a prayer and then after a prayer. Um, we're made up of a little over 70% of water. If you think about that, our bodies respond to both these positive and negative stimuli. How can this influence your well-being? How can this influence you, you know, just thinking about gratitude, thinking about things like, look, it's creating that. That's funny. Um, about your healing, about tangible roles in your life. You know, the music that you listen to, thinking that you're a fool in your own mind, that negative thought process, your mental health. How is that affecting you in your own body? How is that affecting other people if you're calling them names? He went on to experiment further with rice. Ooh, a little far. Let me go back. With rice. So he put these in a jar and he wrote love and hate and then nothing, where he ignored the rice completely. And he did this for 2 weeks, where he told the rice every day, I love you. He told the rice every day, I hate you. And then he completely ignored the rice. With the rice that he said, I love you, it fermented and turned into a rice wine. As you can see, the rice that he hated, it turned black and moldy and really took on this own character of its own. The one that he said nothing to, it actually was the worst out of the three. Um, it became moldy and changed completely. Um, a few years ago in the 2000s, it was IKEA that decided about bullying to show the effects that it has based on Dr. Emoto's experiments itself, what it can do to plant life. So they bullied, they showed in its stores what it will do. So they bullied one plant and they complimented another. There's middle schools now that do this with plants, where you walk in the door to show children what bullying can do on these plants so that it shows kids what it can do to them. So it truly does have an effect. Our words really do have effects on people, on plants. So this is real life. This is what it can do. Our words can impact. With this said, I really want to take this opportunity to introduce our incredible speakers so we can discuss this topic a little bit further. I'm going to start with a little video, or I guess the video's next. Sorry. I know my slides. I worked hard on this. It is with great honor that I want to welcome Rachel Lorelei Vil Villanueva. I'm sorry, Rachel. She is a bold and authentic author known for weaving transformative, spiritual, and scientific concepts into her writing. Rachel explores the intersection of consciousness, quantum physics, and self-discovery, often diving into deep subjects like the impact of thoughts and emotions on our reality. Her journey is not only inspiring, but a testament to the power of human connection with the universe. Rachel's perspective promises to shed new light on Dr. Masaru Emoto's revolutionary studies on water consciousness. So, Rachel, I'm going to play a quick video for us.
What's happening to our world? Humanity is feeling lost, divided, and lonely. Who am I? Why am I even here? What is happening in this era of quick information, fear-mongering, abuse, control? Society is being divided into camps, community, and unity seems lost. But there is hope some brave souls are willing to stand for the truth. At the edge of transformation, ready for change. In chaos and destruction, new foundations can be built. History shows us that renewal follows destruction. Just as nature uses fires to create fertile soil, we can rebuild. Hope isn't lost. Some of us have opened our eyes and are ready to create our future. We're rediscovering our inner power, transforming pain into strength, rejecting pharmaceuticals and genetic illness. We return to our true selves, realigned and transformed. We're coming back to nature, community, and harmony. Are you willing to open that door? To step into the portal available to you, to all of us? Are you ready to start the unnamed work? The Unnamed Work by
Rachel Lorelei Villanueva.
Available on Amazon. What's happening to our world? Humanity, what's happening to our...
And it is also an honor for me to introduce Dr. Paloma Dominguez, an immigrant, storyteller, poet, philosopher, and writer whose work focuses on mental health and body shaming narratives within the Latinx community and their connection to the natural world. Dr. Domiguez's journey began with her dissertation, where she gathered personal stories to shed light on these important issues. However, this process also led her to confront her own struggles with self-worth and body image. This introspection, I'm sorry, gave birth to her memoir, Naked, a raw and transformative reflection on pain, trauma, and self-discovery. Paloma has turned her suffering into a powerful narrative of growth, resilience, and love for oneself through her writing. Her story is a testament to the strength found in vulnerability and the courage to embrace one's journey through healing. Today, Paloma inspires others by sharing her experience and advocating for mental health, awareness, and self-acceptance within the Latinx community. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Paloma Dominguez. So I'm so excited to have you both here. Stop my share. Rachel, would you please introduce yourself a little bit more and let us know a little bit more about your work?
Hi, Well, first of all, thank you so much for the beautiful introduction.
You're welcome.
So,
I'm
so
sorry.
I'm Rachel, and I'm an author, yoga teacher, and since forever I've been questioning the nature of reality. So I've been always interested in everything what we're allowed to do and not allowed to do. So yeah, that brought me into deep dive to question basically everything in the world. And it got me a lot in trouble when I was small. But yeah, that's how I went into writing. And my work is all about sharing my gifts, sharing my passion, and I want to bring the healing that I went through, also through my own experience, that anything is possible when you really put your intention and create rituals for self-help. And that's all what I offer in my teachings and in my books.
I love that. I love that. That really resonates with me that, truly anything can be possible when you really want it and when you really put yourself in that. That's incredible. And Paloma, please let us know more about you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, and thank you, Rachel. I actually want to go back into my childhood moments of like when we used to see people in the park or at school, and we would say, "You want to play with me?" Rachel, I just want to go back to my childhood, and then I want you to be my friend. I would
Oh.
love for us to be friends after your introduction. I connected and related so much to you, and so let's be friends.
Yes, we are friends from now on.
Thank you. And thank you, Elisa, for having me for the opportunity to speak at this month's masterclass. I want to properly introduce myself. My name is Paloma Dominguez Hammond. I am a mestiza, and I love introducing myself with my full name to honor my roots, my ancestors, and my story. I come from a small rural town, a rural community in the south of Mexico. It is so small and remote that it didn't even exist in Google Maps until a few years ago. As a Latina doctor with a rich background in ecological psychology and environmental humanities, I hope to bring a unique perspective, a unique lens to our discussion today. My work has often intertwined with the profound influence of language on our mental health and physical health. And I look forward to exploring this through an ecological perspective. I do host workshops here in my community, and it's specifically for the Latinx community, and it's 100% in their language, the language of their hearts. It is also the language of my heart, which is Spanish. That's the first language, and I grew up with that language, and it's very close to my heart. And so the workshops that I host are only for females. It's called Desnudándome. And so it's a safe space for us to talk about mental health and to talk about our narratives that we grew up as Latinas in a very machista cultural community. And so that's usually the work that I do in my community.
This is so incredible to be able to talk to both of you. Rachel, you are in Luxembourg right now, correct?
Yes, correct.
And Luxembourg is a really unique micro country. It was amazing for me to be able to visit, um, which is it's such a niche place that a lot of people don't really know about. Um,
No,
and
no,
you
no
are
one.
actually, is it Luxembourgian?
Luxembourgish.
Burgish. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for correcting me. Luxembourgish, which there's not a lot of Luxembourgish people left, correct, that still live in Luxembourg.
Actually, it's a country that's very mixed, so they're becoming rare, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because even me, if I am born here, I have the nationality, but I am half Portuguese and half Filipina. So, Yeah, true 100% Luxembourg people. It's kind of rare because most of them also have some ties with Germany or with France because the country is really bordering Germany, France, and Belgium. So yeah, it's a very cultural mix here.
Right. So I'm really grateful to have both of you here because it's such an incredible place for us to talk about language and how it affects us. Um, I'm American, I was born here. I'm fourth generation American. Mostly Irish, I guess would be my quote unquote heritage. Um, my parents were very proud Irish. Um, but so it's an incredible cultural mix, and I'm just really grateful. Technology is really incredible, so I really appreciate to have this conversation. So I've got a few questions that I would love to ask. So the first one that I would like to ask is, what do you think are some common misconceptions about language cross-culturally when it comes to health and wellness? Whoever wants to take the first dive at that question, go ahead.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. What do you think are some common misconceptions about language cross-culturally when it comes to health and wellness? So what I think of, common misconceptions when it comes to language cross-culturally is, even when it comes to other things, not necessarily health and wellness, but when it comes to cross-culturally, when it comes to misconceptions about language,
Oh,
one thing that I've experienced is that Americans are always loud and stupid. We smile a lot, we are loud, but we tend to smile a lot. That is one thing that I've experienced. I'm a well-traveled American, which is tends to be kind of rare. A lot of Americans don't have passports. I've gone to 38 countries personally. And sometimes I have to remember where I go. I have to remind myself not to smile. It's just kind of a natural thing. There's certain places in Europe where people just don't smile as much as Americans do. Um, but they go, oh, Americans are, loud and stupid and brash, but you don't know anything about anything. And a lot of people tend to, I've heard more than once that they're like, oh, wow, you're educated. Especially when I'm meeting new people. And when I start talk about my book, which is based in wellness and health, and that's what I tend to talk about, especially most because people ask you, one of the first things people tend to ask you is, what do you do for a living? And I say, oh, I'm a best-selling author, and this is what my book is based on, is chronic illness. They always go, oh, I don't want to talk about that. And I go, well, it's actually not as bad as you think it is. They go, oh, wow, you're educated. What was your, why do you want to talk about this? And one of the common misconceptions is that people don't think that I would know anything about that. Do you find in the Latin community, for example, Paloma, that one of the common misconceptions I experienced in Mexico, I was in Guadalajara recently, and I had to have an emergency root canal. When I
mm,
came back, a lot of people were like, wow, was it dirty?
mm.
And I was like, no, it's a modern city. I had a great time, great experience, and it was wonderful. Like, why would you? But I found that to be a major misconception.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we need to gain a deeper understanding of how language serves as a bridge between mind, body, and community health. Um, their words are extremely important. Words are extremely crucial. Language is. And I think that misconceptions can be gained by the lack of diversity that one have in their psyche. For instance, you mentioned that you've been to 38 countries. You have gained perspectives from different cultures. You have been to different places where the food is different, the language is different, healthcare is different. And unfortunately, I think that the media can tend to portray different parts of the world as a negative connotation when we compare it to the United States. I think that also each culture carries unique linguistic patterns that reflects values and beliefs about mental health. For instance, within the Latinx culture, and we do have a strong I guess there's a chip embedded into our brains that machismo, there's like micro machismos that happen constantly. And it's funny because I was talking to a friend about it yesterday. We were watching a novela. It's like a soap opera from the 90s and the 2000s, and they were talking about fat phobia and things that were hurtful, that it would, if we talk about it today, or if we see it in TV today, it would have a lot of it would be a lot of like destruction, I would say. Maybe that's not the right word, but it would be extremely negative to body shame someone on TV, even if even racism, and I think that there's many things that we're talking about today that perhaps we wouldn't be talking about in the past. In my culture, at least, in my Mexican culture, we don't talk about mental health. These are topics that we don't come into the table and we discuss. It's a taboo talking about mental health. It's not something common. I think that with the newest generations, this is a topic that we bring up the most. But I think that there's always going to be misconception because we are not well aware and we are not attuned with other cultures. We do not have the diversity to be expanded and bring our horizons and expand it more than we need to. I think it's we have a very our I think that the way that sometimes we see life is just like this, and we have I don't know why, but I'm bringing back, yes, it's like I want to say it in Spanish, but we always look life like this. We tend to, I'm not saying always, but we tend to see life like this until we finally look around. And if we're not exposed to it, I think it's so easily to find those misconceptions. We hear people in positions of power saying that all Latinos are Mexicans and all Latinos are rapists and we are criminals and we want to take over jobs. And just because you're a person of color, then immediately they give you this misconception. I think that language, again, it's should serve as a bridge between mind, body, and community health. And we need to start utilizing language and be more attuned to what we say and the damage that it can cause.
Absolutely. Really quickly, for our viewers that don't know, can you explain what machismo means?
Yes. Let me give you an example of what machismo is and the negative connotation that brings, but it's usually the alpha male that the role of a woman is to be suppressed, to only serve males. And when we hear machismo, it's usually the way that let me give you an example. The way that I grew up as a little girl, I grew up seeing my family, the women in my life, they would wake up before the sun and they would go and everything is homemade in my hometown. And so they would have to go to a place where they would bring the masa handmade and then they go before the sun, they bring it back, and they make tortillas, and they're cooking for the men. When the food is ready, the man has to, the man sits on the table and they eat first before the woman. And once they eat, the woman takes the plate, and we eat later. I grew up seeing a lot of women in my life that are so strong, and they're warriors, and they're very resilient, and they bring the family together. But when I saw that the behavior that men are the one who have the power, men are the one who speak first, men have they rule over the house, and it's we're embedded into that culture that it's a type of behavior that brings men on a pedestal, and then women have to follow. Women do not have a voice, and so I grew up watching that. And when you watch the novelas, the soap operas, and you see that the men usually are the ones who rule, that have the power, and women come second. It's not a partnership. It's not a team community. It's men above all.
Thank you. Rachel, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's thank you so much, Paloma, for everything you've shared. It made me really feel like diving into your culture. It's really beautiful, and touching my heart, really, that it's sad and difficult that we have to fight for those preconceived boxes and ideas that are put. And we are in incredible changing times. I feel that movement is happening. Women are raising their voices, and things are happening which before were never the case. And it's beautiful to witness that. So if I dive into my side of the culture, the Philippines was a country that was colonized like forever. So it was first Spanish, then it came, I think, Portugal, Spain, the America also colonized for a while. So I believe it's deeply within, especially for me, that's what I think, that it's in our DNA, that the fact of being colonized, you are in this coping mechanism and sacrifice. And so you let people walk all over you, and you're like just being a doormat and saying yes to everything. And I think part of those things are still in those deep cellular levels, in our cells, as Filipinos. So I believe that the power of the thoughts and the emotions, it's something to dive deep into, because if we stay in those boxes and if we stay in that cultural programming, it's hard to get out of it. And it's like you've said before, you have those blinders and you don't see anything else. And that's what I find beautiful in doing work, in self-help and healing and in mental health, because the work that you do there, that is what helps you to take out those old weeds, to rip out everything what's not useful anymore, and to plant those new seeds in the garden and to start something new. And I believe every human has that power to plant their seeds and to see something flourish. And like like you say, Alyssa, in your book, we are all warriors, and I truly believe that within my heart, that anything is possible if we really try to start opening our eyes and get out of those boxes. Yeah.
Well, thank you both so much for that. I really, really appreciate both your answers. That really resonates with me, that it makes me think about generational pain that we tend to all carry with us, and how to move forward from that. Breaking that cycle. I think that all three of us as strong women, especially strong independent women that are, entrepreneurial, and breaking those kind of things that I think all of our families, you know, I think we've moved past kind of those generational things. If we were born in a different time, we probably would have been burned as witches or something.
For sure.
You know,
I
those
hear that
wicked book
often.
thinkers, those you better not do that. Don't tell the church, you know. Okay, so next question. How do you think, well, I think we kind of touched on this too. How do you think words and intentions shape our physical and emotional well-being based on your experience?
So, words and intention based on the physical experience, I think has a lot of power. So it's, to me, words are like magical spells, and the way how you speak and think about yourself, it affects your physical body. And in my book, in the first chapter, I talk about rituals that you can use to start that connection of self-love and healing, to reconnect with yourself and your soul, because we are so used to either it's cultural programming or it's the society, but especially as women, what you see on TV, how you're supposed to look, how everything is supposed to be. And then we start doing those self-hate talks like I'm not good enough or whatever things. And I think it starts really with self-love and feeling whole. And so those words and those intentions that you say to yourself, it really shapes your physicality. And I can speak about this out of experience because years ago, I was diagnosed with a minor fibrome, and they said it's not gonna disappear. So if you want to take it out, you have to operate. And I told myself, okay, let's do this work. Let's do the inner work. And that's what I started doing. So I started in my meditations, I started shrinking it daily and monthly. And after the shrinking, I went deeper into being grateful that it disappeared. And I did that for months. And as I went back, like searching the files, I don't get it. There was a fibrome. And I was like, was. And that's, oh my God, this is so just to say that what you feel really has an effect on your body. You can literally go through mirrors, and the skeptics were like, "How possible?" If you look at the study of Dr. Emoto, you can see that he used different cultures to the plants, to the water, to modify. And if we think about our bodies, we're 70% water, but what's the medium culture that we have in our body? It's our blood. And when you have thoughts, that is what you give as an information to your bloodstream. So if you close your eyes, your cells in your body, those 50 trillion cells, do not see what's happening on the outside. So you can influence your body, but and
Your internet's kind of
yourself
freezing
with,
up on us a little bit.
sorry?
Your internet's freezing up on us a little bit.
Oh,
Try again.
yeah.
What did you
And
say? Are your cells what?
yeah, so our cells do not perceive the outside reality.
Hmm.
So it's our eyes and our minds and emotions what translate this as a medium into our bloodstream. And so it is very powerful what you think. And if you just take the example, you're sitting on a couch, you're not moving at all, and you're watching a movie that is full of action, you're starting to feel the heat and your heart pump. And that's just the proof that it's the perception of what you translated into your brain, your thoughts, your emotions that is affecting your physical body. And I think that's the biggest proof to say that it is powerful. It's, to me, it's magical spells. And just like if you go into the Bible, Jesus blessed his water, his food, and intentions bring into miracles, like transforming water into wine, for example. And
Mhm.
that's what I do daily. I water into wine. What I do daily is I bless my food, my water. I put in me within my deepest cellular, and I do that every day.
Love
I
that.
think it's
Thank
very
you so
powerful.
much. That's wonderful. I love that answer. That really resonates with me. You know, these aren't new concepts, talking about this. You say about the Bible, it's in the Bible that the power, it's in the tongue, right? So it says right there, the power of life and death is in the tongue. And that's 2000 years ago. There's things from China that are even older, proverbs from China and proverbs in Buddhism and things like that talk about how your manifestation, uh, it says to smile more is it creates a happy man. When you speak life or you speak death, you will get the same result. That's this is the same thing. The Secret, that book that came out, it was all about manifestation. It's what you talk out into the universe, you will receive. And everyone went wild
Exactly.
over it. Like you can manifest your life. Yeah, of course, you create your own reality. You talk about what you say will come true. And your mind goes where your energy flows. If you say I've got a wonderful life, your brain is going to look for that to be true. If you say my life is crap, your brain is going to look for evidence. And it's scientifically proven that when you're grateful, just thinking about gratitude, your DNA will get longer. That's incredible. It's a thought and it grows your DNA. That's just, to me, that is wild. That is magic, like you were saying. That's
Yeah,
true magic.
it's
Like
amazing.
Harry Potter's got nothing on that, right? Like, come on. Forget Dumbledore. All right, go ahead. Paloma.
Thank you. I want to start with a concept that I studied, and that is eco-psychology. And I want to go back and connect the dots to what also Rachel was saying. Um, Eco-psychology is born from the collaboration between two sciences. We have the ecology and then we have the psychology. And they join forces to confront both psychological and environmental problems. Eco-psychology does not aim to formulate a theory, but to awaken or rekindle our capacity to feel. And when I say feel, I'm not referring to just our emotions, but our senses. We know the most common, which is smell, sight, and touch, and auditory, which can distinguish certain qualities, like shape, size, texture, temperature. But human beings, however, can feel beyond the five senses that we commonly know. And therefore, I think that as sentient beings living under the same planet, living under the same home, we must do everything possible to transform through actions, through language, our connection and our love for life itself. And I think that today, with um, the deterioration of our environment and the implications that this represents, I think influence a lot our physical and mental health. And language, as a fundamental part of human interaction, plays a crucial role in shaping these perceptions and these interactions that we have every day. And considering Dr. Emoto's experiment with water crystals, where positive and negative statements led to the formation of beautiful and or distorted crystals, respectively. I think that this serves as a metaphor, as an important and crucial metaphor of how language can influence and transform not only our psychological state, but definitely our physical well-being. If words we know that can affect water structure, and given that our bodies are primarily water, imagine the impact of our self-talk and communication with others in our health. And I think that in my work in ecopsychology, we have a concept called psychological waste. In psychological waste, it's all of the negative emotions, all of the negative self-talk, and the ugly feelings, envy, jealousy, judgment, and criticism. In all of those feelings, we call it psychological waste. Those live within us. Whenever we talked and we are hurtful with ourselves and with our words towards others, that is psychological waste that it needs to be composted. And I love so much that Rachel was talking about planting the seed and having those flowers being, they need to be fed and fertilized in order for them to flourish. And I think that with the psychological waste in the ecological processes like composting, just as waste in nature, we can transform into fertile soil, and the toxic negatives we tell ourselves can be composted through language to foster psychological growth and healing. When we start adopting compassionate, empathetic language towards ourselves and others, we facilitate a nurturing environment for mental health. I always think about whenever I talk to myself and I negative self-talk, I always think about my younger self. And if I was talking to my best friend, would I speak to that person like that? I would never. I would never say to my best friend, "You're stupid. You are not worthy of love. You're not those are usually the words that I used to say to myself. You're pathetic, you're mediocre, you're not worthy of love. You look at you, you're so grotesque." And that's the representation and a mimic of the world external to ourselves. And the way that we speak to ourselves is the same way that we do that with others. Two more questions. Okay, I think I'm done.
Thank you so much. I totally agree. I think that's a wonderful, just absolutely wonderful answer. One thing I've done over the years that it is I'm not gonna lie to you, it's taken a lot of work and a lot of it's been really difficult to do. I've taken that kind of inner me voice, that enemy voice, that's been really kind of cruel over the years, and I've turned it up really high pitched, and I've made it really, really annoying, and I made it kind of a gnat, and it's like, and I'm just kind of every time I hear it, I'm like, get away, you know, and that's worked really well for me because now when I hear it, I know it's false, but it's been very difficult and it's taken a long time. Okay, so next question. In what ways do cultural like proverbs or sayings reflect oh, I'm so sorry. No, that's not the question I want to ask. Ha ha ha. Um so how have you heard language in change over the last few years? Have you experienced shifts in healthcare, wellness, health in general, uh, really changed since the pandemic culturally?
I like this one, and especially after the pandemic. I think that in the Latinx culture, and I'm going to speak specifically, I'm only going to speak about my culture. So
Yeah,
let
please.
me rephrase this. In my culture, as a Mexican, I think that language is deeply intertwined with community, spirituality, and resilience. This has been impregnated into my being, in my soul, and my bones throughout generations. And we do this through myths. We do this through legends. We do this through proverbs. We call them dichos. And it's through, as well as through storytelling. Storytelling in my culture is extremely important, and it's crucial. And this is how we've been, the language has been deeply intertwined. Community narratives often also carry a lot of wisdom and coping mechanisms passed down through generations, especially after COVID. I think that a lot of us didn't talk about it. I think the after, all of the lives that we lost, and a lot of family members as well, loved ones. And I think that what I have seen a lot into my students, people that I'm close with, is that some of the culture started talking a little bit more about that, the importance of what we call the concept of familismo, which is like the importance of family, and how that shape how health related information and emotional support are connected within the Latinx families. A lot of us started talking a lot more about it through post-COVID. And I think that language has been used in these settings to emphasize a collective well-being and bring in the conversations about health that perhaps it didn't happen in the past, not as often, but it definitely reinforced strong support networks.
Thank you so much. Rachel? Or
Yeah, I think
as far as the European culture goes.
yeah, as far as the European culture, it's like before COVID, we were all sitting in a train and it was just going straight ahead, and no one really cared much about just, doing your job and living your life in a very way where people do a lot with to cope with their problems, especially here in Luxembourg. This is a country where the suicide rate is really high, but no one talks about it. It's like swept under the carpet, because here it's a very rich country. There are a lot of banks, and people come here, especially from the borders. They come here to work because they can make really a lot of money. But the problem is life is also very expensive. So you make a lot of money, but you end up being poor because everything is so expensive. And so people to what they do is just, they get lost in drinking and going out, and it's very, very dysfunctional. And since the pandemic, it's like it kicked everyone out of that train. And people, since that, they discovered what it meant to be free and what's the value of freedom, but not only physically, but also mentally, emotionally, spiritually. A lot of people quit their jobs. They left the country only to have a better life, because in seeing, I can't live this. We working our numbing it again with stuff to just feel better. It's like in the Roman times, they gave you bread and circus. What do we have today? It's like, it's the same. You try to numb yourself with things like social media or whatever things. But I think the pandemic was a big shake to everything, to the people, especially to get out of that dysfunctional ways and going back into really what's the meaning of life, and how can I value this freedom in all ways.
It's kind of a good thing that they got shook, a big shake out of that rat race kind of a thing. I feel like in America too, it was the generational gaps really were shown as far as our culture goes. The millennial thing and Gen X and Gen Z and boomers, and it was really that was really opened, and the floodgates kind of came out with that. The differences, millennials, which I am one, they really kind of came forward and said, this is what our problem is that we know exactly what's wrong with us, but we're not doing anything about it. And we tend to know that our mental health is really messed up. And this is why, as we've been through so many things, we were given a promise that will never be fulfilled. We were told to check these boxes, and we did check them. We went to college, but we came out of college into a huge, remission. And then we were guaranteed the best jobs, and we were guaranteed to, we were told to get housing, and then we were told to do this, but now we have to live in a van down by the river, but none of us can afford that van. And now we're supposed to do this whole thing, but we have to reinvent ourselves. And then there was a world shutdown. And then, we survived. We were the last of the latchkey kids, but we also invented the internet, and we don't know what to do. Um, and the good thing is that we all have a sense of humor, and we found ourselves with that. So um, it was an interesting kind of introspection when it came to that. And also, we're living through this crazy political time that none of us know what to do with. And it's really dividing the country. And I think nobody knows how to handle that. Um, but it's been an interesting thing when it comes to America, which is also terrifying at the same time. Um, all right, this is the last question that I have for us before we wrap up. If you could give one piece of advice to yourself when it comes to starting out on your health and wellness journey about the language that you use, what would it be?
Um, to me, it'll be talking to my younger self, uh, talking to my little 3-year-old, um, and reflect on the language that I use daily, and how does my words shape my reality and those around me. And I want to close with, let us continue to be mindful of the power our words hold, and let's nurture ourselves and our hearts and our communities together, um, for a greater health and harmonious world.
Thank you so much. Rachel?
That was lovely. Well, I would say be the love yourself, and that we are energetic beings, and that the vibrational frequency we emit is exactly what we will get back to us. And so I think it's just the most beautiful way to think, how you use language to speak to others, and how you just put everything out there, to reflect how is it going to be returned? How is it like, is it going to be magnetic, or is it going to push someone away? Like, really use those intentions. And we're all interconnected with each other, with the universe, with the earth, with nature, and we are all mirroring each other. And said, as above, so below, from the micro to the macro. So let's all just spread that peace and love and harmony.
Absolutely. I would say compassion, speak to yourself with compassion, speak to others with compassion, choose love over anger. That's something that I still struggle with. I tend to be a little hot-headed. I think that's part of being a Halloween baby. I tend to go there a little bit, but use compassion for those different parts inside of me, especially that little girl that lives inside of, that little person, a younger self that lives inside of all of us. Use compassion to that person whenever they wear their tantrum head, which happens. When you're like, I don't want that cookie, I want my first cookie, or when your computer breaks, especially, I don't want that computer, I want my computer to work. I tend to get a little upset, and I think that that's that just that little girl inside of me that's throwing a tantrum because she didn't get enough sleep last night or whatever it is, enough coffee this morning. To have compassion for her. I really want to thank you both so much from the bottom of my heart for being here today. I am just truly, truly blessed to have you both in my life, and to have the ability to call you both my friend is just, it just, I cannot be more grateful. Um, Dr. Paloma Dominguez, where can we find you? I'm so proud of being able to say doctor in front of your name. Um, Thank you so much for sharing everything that you have. And Rachel, where can we find the unnamed work? How can people get a hold of you? Where can we find your book?
You can find it on Amazon. And if you just Google it, you can find it on a lot of platforms. But I just want to say thank you so much. I feel very blessed, Alyssa and Paloma, to call you my friend, my new friend, Paloma. I'm so happy. This was wonderful, and I really felt, like I said in the beginning, those good vibes and those continents separating us with two oceans and different time zones. This was amazing. This was really amazing, and I just feel very grateful and blessed that I could be a part of this. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Thank you
thank you
so
so
much for
much.
staying up late. I know it's super late there and you worked all day, and I just really appreciate you taking this time. Thank you both. I will have your book up too on ivywarriors.com for the month of January. So if anyone is interested in getting the unnamed work, it will be up in the book section on the website. So please, please, there'll be a link to the Amazon so you can get her book on the website. For any more information on the masterclass, or if you want to catch next month's Lives Masterclass, please join our membership at ivywarriors.com, and you will enjoy much, much more at the membership. I really want to thank you both, and thank you so, so much. I appreciate you. Let me...